Welcome to Industry Insights with Route Consultant, your front row seat to the fast-moving world of logistics and beyond. Each week, we bring you game-changing insights, real-world strategies, and fresh perspectives to fuel smarter investments and build stronger businesses. Join us as we sit down with expert guests to explore emerging trends and pressing topics across a wide range of industries. This is Industry Insights. Alex, welcome back. It's good to have you.
I feel like I've been here a long time.
Yeah, I think we just keep you trapped in a box, pull you out when we need you.
Exactly. This is the Linehaul box. This is the P&D box.
Yeah.
I'm just a puppet.
Yep.
With
wind it up like a jack in the box, pop
exactly.
out. but it is a pleasure to have you. And I think what we've talked about previously, I think the last time we talked about two of your biggest assets, people and trucks. We talked a little bit about maintaining those vehicles. I think this time let's talk about the other asset, the people. Yeah. And so when it comes to drivers, I think sometimes I've heard Linehaul space described as recruiting with the side of logistics. So I know that it is a huge component of this business.
I don't know if there's any logistics in Linehaul. Yeah. So I disagree with that statement. I think the job of a Linehaul TSP is to recruit and maintain vehicles.
Yeah.
Recruit drivers and maintain.
Yeah.
And it goes back to, like we talked about a while back ago, about the four pillars or the four columns. So you have safety, service, availability, and finance. Recruiting falls into all three of those buckets.
Yeah.
Okay. So you want to have safe drivers. You want to be able to provide drivers, and you want drivers who are actually going to do the job. Yeah. So those all go back into those three metrics. And then financials is the less recruiting that you're actually having to do, the more profitable you're going to be. Because it costs money to recruit drivers. One, in paying Indeed or Craigslist or whoever you're recruiting from. But two, just in if you don't have a driver sitting in that seat, then that's revenue that you're actually not earning.
Yeah, P&D, we talk about, you get a service charge, you get a flat weekly fee every week. And Linehaul, that's not the case. No. You get paid if you run, and if you're not running, you're not getting paid. Yeah. So when it comes to recruiting, what's kind of your main method of doing it? Like, how do you typically recruit new drivers?
So there's really two ways you can do it, right?
Yeah.
You can either outsource it, or you can internalize it.
Yep.
I've fortunately for me, or unfortunately for me, I've grown to the point where I have a full-time recruiter who works on my staff.
Okay.
She's also my HR manager, so she handles a lot of other different functionality. I'm not that big where I need a full-time recruiter, but I've internalized it, and I no longer need to use a third-party vendor. And the reason why, the positive for that is, one, I hate recruiting. It's the one part of this business that I've recognized that I'm not very good at.
Yeah.
And I don't like to do.
Why do you hate it?
I'm just not organized. I mean, I'm really organized, but I'm not organized in that functionality.
Yeah.
Like when you pop up an ad on Indeed or Craigslist or ZipRecruiter or whatever, thing you're going to do, all of a sudden you get pinged with 25, 50, 100 emails and text messages or whatever kind of metric you've decided that they're going to contact or respond to you. And then your job is to respond back to them.
Yeah.
And drop what you're doing and respond back to them in a timely manner. More often than not, at least Indeed says this, that if you're able to respond to somebody within 5 minutes, then that is somebody that's going to be interested in your job and that is going to follow up with you. I'm just not that kind of person. As a Linehaul manager, I'm too busy. Linehaul manager. As a Linehaul owner, I'm generally too busy, or I have other things that I'm focusing on that takes me away. And so what I would find when I was a small contractor with only 4 or 6 trucks, I would do all my recruiting in the evenings, and I was missing a lot of drivers who would contact. I'd draft and post my advertisement on whatever source I was using in the morning, but I wouldn't be able to respond into the evening, and I was losing all those candidates.
Yeah.
And I would get frustrated because I would call and text and email, and no one would respond back to me.
I mean, in particular, if there are guys who are applying for nighttime driving, if they're already in a nighttime position, they may not be able to take those calls or texts if you're trying to reach out to them at night.
Yeah. So when I was smaller, I used a third-party vendor. I used, for a while, I used Bright Flag, had a lot of success with Bright Flag, really enjoyed working with them. At different times, I've used M3 or Higher Impact. They're all. You have to figure out what kind of service you want if you're going to use. They all provide different levels of service and require different metrics. So it's up to you to determine what kind of support you need from that vendor in your recruiting process.
Yeah.
Now I'm able to do it all internally. I have a very kind woman who's my HR manager. She does a great job. She posts my advertisements. She follows up on Indeed. We religiously use Indeed. And then she processes the drivers all the way through FADV and then begins the onboarding process and continues to work with them throughout the entire stage. We like Indeed over ZipRecruiter or Craigslist or Facebook or I don't know if there's any other thing, but it's just because it works for us. It works really well in our markets. I have a great relationship with Greg over at Indeed. He will give me information and say, hey, we're seeing a lot of drivers looking for work in Memphis. If you need work, do it here. Or, hey, I know you're struggling to find team drivers in Memphis. If you expand your radius and maybe include 150 miles, so guys who are willing to drive 3 hours to work, you might be able to find more team drivers. And the one thing nice about it is understanding who you're trying to hire. Team drivers are willing to drive multiple hours to get to work because they're going to be at work for 5, 6, 7 days a week.
Okay, yeah, because you were like, find people 3 hours away. I was like, there's no chance I'm driving 3 hours into work, but it makes sense for a team driver that's basically driving in for the week. Yep. And then they'll come back and drive home. Is it something where do you pay fuel or like what do you have to do? Do you have to do anything different if somebody's that far away?
No.
Okay.
A lot of times they live there for choice actually I used to have a driver who drove 5 hours.
Wow.
He was living in Champaign, Illinois, and he worked for me in Memphis, Illinois. He just, whatever reason, I don't even know how he found my name or my advertisement because I definitely wasn't advertising 200 miles.
Yeah, up there.
Miles away, he found he came to work for me for about 18 months. And now he keeps pinging me all the time. Like, when are you going to open up a Champaign office? I'm like, I don't know, buddy.
You get me some runs. Yeah.
Exactly.
Do solo drivers ever drive from that far away? Like,
no. The bigger issue with there is I wouldn't want somebody. Well, I take it back. I do have a solo driver who drives that far away, just because he spends the week in the truck.
Oh.
So he actually reached out to me, said, "Hey, I would love to do this run for you. Do you have any sleepers?" And I will live in the sleeper.
I was about to say, it's better not be a day cab that he spends the weekend.
So he lives in a sleeper for the week, and he drives. It's a 6-day run. He does it from Sunday. Actually, I take it back. He does it from Monday morning through Sunday morning, and then he goes home on Sunday, spends the day at wherever he lives, and actually he lives about an hour and a half away, and then he comes back on Monday morning and does the run. And it was just something that he reached out to me and asked me if he could do that. I said, sure. Your run is one of the runs I actually have a sleeper on, just because we happen to have times where the other side won't provide freight or won't have a freight, and they want us to go through anyways.
Okay. Well, sometimes it's just, you play with the puzzle pieces you've got and see who reaches out.
So I do have that, but in general, I don't want my solo drivers driving that long because if you think about it, you are required from the FMCSAs, FMCSR, so Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations, that a driver get 10 hours of rest after their duty day is complete. And so if you think about it, you have a driver that's done a 14-hour duty day, which consists of 11 hours of driving, and then they have to drive for 2 hours or an hour to drive into work. They're really only getting at most maybe 7, maybe 6 hours of sleep, and that's just it's a safety violation in my mind.
Yeah, and it's a risk. Yeah, like we talk about, you don't.
So I think the longest I have somebody driving in is 45 minutes. Okay. And I don't put it on any of my stretch runs. And stretch runs are runs that are going to run right up to that 11-hour driving time.
Yeah. So, we've talked a lot about how you have it now. How do you find most contractors when they start? Are most people using a vendor, or are most people trying to do it all on their own?
I would recommend, unless you come from the truck driving or the recruiting industry, I would recommend that you start off with a vendor. Is my piece of advice. It's a little bit more expensive, but I think they will walk you through and they can be a valuable resource and explain to you, okay, what is the driver market like in St. Louis? Like if you're a brand new contractor going into St. Louis, or I mean, even me, like I've been in the business for 6+ years. I really know my markets in Cincinnati, Memphis, and Olive Branch. But if I was going into Champaign or going into Savannah, there's a very good chance I would use a vendor just because I don't know those markets well, and they do, or they have the resources to do the research to get me the information. And so I'll pay for their, even if I don't use the vendor to recruit for me, I'll pay for their analysis of that market to understand, okay, do we pay by the mile? Do we pay by the hour?
Yeah.
What's the going rate? Is there a propensity of team drivers? Or is there a propensity of solo drivers? If it's team drivers, is it mom and pop drivers? Or is it husband and wife drivers? Is it daddy son drivers? Or dad son drivers? Is it two brothers?
Yeah.
Or is it just two random strangers being put into a team together? I mean, each market is different. And so understanding the makeup and the employee, the potential employee context is really important when you're recruiting.
Talk a little bit about recruiting for teams. You touched on it. You know, you've got to put two people in a vehicle, and they have to get along to some capacity, and they have to depend on the other to some capacity.
So depending on the market, some teams, some locations, it's really challenging to recruit individual drivers and then pair them up together. And in other areas, it's really easy. So like Memphis is a really easy market where I can put two different people together. We just match up their personalities and they get along. And then
why is that the case? Why would one market be easier
It's just
than
like
others?
what they kind of recruit for. I think Memphis happens to have a lot of truck driving schools.
Okay.
And so you have a lot of the big national carriers will have like a senior driver and a junior driver or a lead driver and a driver trainee. So it's just a lot
They've
more
gotten used to driving with somebody else too.
But like, I mean, so in my teams, I have two husband and wife teams. I have a two cousin team. I have a one cousin team. And then I have my other three teams are just people I put together. I actually tried to do two best friends and they stopped being friends.
Yeah.
So I actually found it better for me putting, I split them up. They still both work for me. And then I matched them up with two people that I thought were better fits for their personality.
Yeah.
And that actually worked out really well.
Yeah, because you'd think you could just assume, a husband and wife or a brother and sister would work great.
Well, think about it. Like you went to college, right?
Yeah.
Are you best friends with your roommate?
I'm best friends with one of my roommates.
But best friends with one of your roommates. Now, were there other people in college that you were best friends with that weren't your roommate?
Yes.
Did you ever want those people that you were best friends with to be your roommates? Or you're like, you know what? I'm really happy being your best friend, but I don't really want to be your roommate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and even I had 4 roommates, and so that's why I said one of my roommates, because one of my roommates, yes, and the other two are,
Yeah.
So
what you'll find is that, there's people that you want to live with or want to share a bunk with or a cab with, and then there's people that you're best friends with.
Yeah.
And they're not always the same. Sometimes they are.
Yeah.
I do like husband and wife teams until they get divorced.
Yep. And then that's a horrible situation to have to resolve. Yeah.
But you'll find crazy stuff that happens with a team. I mean, I remember we always knew we had this one guy who would always come in off. So the run went from, it was like a 20-hour run.
Yeah.
So it wasn't enough time for him to go home.
Okay.
So he would always go hang out in a strip club. And God's honest truth, every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday morning, the run would get back around, well, not Tuesday because that was the start of the run. So on Thursday and Saturday mornings, the run would get back around 4 a.m. and wouldn't dispatch out until about 8.
Okay.
So at 8 a.m. in the morning, we'd always have to call the strip club and kick him out. Now this is before smartphones.
Yeah.
So he had he had like an old flip phone.
Yeah.
And it was just the craziest thing. We'd call the strip club up and be like, "Hey, is Ray there?" Like, "Yeah, he's in the back." I'm like, "Hey, send him out when you're done." Yeah,
it's been, oh my gosh, just every morning for 3 hours and then get him out on the road again.
I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. But hey, they're off hours.
Yeah. It's just, you will see, if you're running teams, you will come across some of the craziest stuff you can ever imagine. Like I never happened to me, but I've heard this great story about this couple that got divorced they were driving on a run and they ended up in Phoenix, and they decided that they decided that they couldn't work together anymore. But not only that, but they couldn't live together, and they actually went to a court in Arizona and got divorced on the road, and they both went their separate ways. And the
stranded the truck.
The contractor's like, this truck is stranded outside a courthouse outside of Phoenix. Now, not even at the terminal, at the courthouse.
Big FedEx logo right out there.
And the contractor's trying to figure out, okay, like I think he was a contractor in Ohio or in Pennsylvania, and he's trying to figure out, okay, how do I fly a team out there to go pick up the truck? Not let alone just like recover the load.
Yeah.
You're already failing on those loads, but just bring the truck back to Pennsylvania.
Gosh, what a joy.
So, there's all sorts of crazy stuff.
It's with anytime you're working with people, there's the good and the bad. Another part of the equation that I often hear is the bad is First Advantage. Can you just touch a little bit on what to expect, what that system is?
So First Advantage is the background third-party vendor that FedEx requires us to utilize. Mm-hmm. They're also a source that FedEx uses to maintain driver files. Mm-hmm. So FedEx, as part of their DOT requirements and their reporting requirements, needs to maintain certain files and track certain things. So it's kind of like that gray area. So your drivers are really your employees, mm-hmm. but because you operate under FedEx's DOT authority, they have certain reporting requirements that they have to report up to the FMCSA and the DOT. And so that's the party. Now, First Advantage it's a fine system for what it is, mm-hmm. just understanding the limitations that it has and what the contract terms of what FedEx has agreed and what First Advantage has agreed to provide FedEx in return. Mm. Okay, so First Advantage does a employment verification. They do a criminal background check. They are the repository for maintaining the drug screens. Mm-hmm. They also maintain. They do MVR checks of all the drivers, so a motor vehicle record check to ensure that the driver has a valid driver's license. And they have a medical certificate that's tied to that driver's license.
Got it.
So the way it works is that First Advantage is not has the ability to accumulate or to import the data that you submit to them, and then respond to that data, either publish it or tell you that there's an error with it within 24 hours. Mm. So if you update something, if you give information to them at 7 a.m. in the morning, then you're not going to get something at 7 a.m. the next day. You're going to get something at so it's once they start working. So they start working from 8 to 5, mm-hmm. and they will publish something the next day between 8 and 5 p.m., 8 in the morning and 5 p.m. But they have 24 hours to respond to everything. And then they have a certain amount of timeline to conduct a employment verification. And then under FedEx requirements, your drivers need to have at least 1 year of verifiable driving history, mm-hmm. In the last 3 years, or 5 years worth of driving history in the last 10 years. Or they can have graduated from a verified truck driving school and worked for a truck driving company for 6 consecutive months.
Okay.
So that makes your driver eligible, but it's very specific. And you have to have a minimum of 180 days if you're going for the truck driving school and the 6-month verification. Actually, I think it's 182 or 83 days to be exact. Or if it's 1 year worth of verification in the 3 years mm-hmm. previously, it's actually 365 days worth of verification in exactly 3 years. So if you open the application on, say, April 9th, mm-hmm. today, then that's April 9th, 2022 is where the verifiable history stops. Mm. So if they only have 364 and the one day that they're missing was on April 8th, it doesn't count. Mm. So it's like working with a government contractor. They're very specific to the contract, but that's also provide themselves some indemnification if they have an error.
But it's those little things that I know cause frustration.
Oh my gosh, it gets so frustrating. I know the worst is, they don't work on holidays. So it's 24 hours or 3 days worth of business. So like you'll be like, oh, I need this driver today. I submitted it, on Friday. It's today is Wednesday, you should have had your 3 days. No, the weekend doesn't count.
And Monday
was a holiday. So we have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then we report to you on Friday whether or not we were able to verify this history.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then if you have to cure their file, if you have to fix something, they have 24 hours to observe, import, and look at it, and then they have 24 hours to respond. So it just gets frustrating.
Yeah. When you're trying to move quickly. Yeah. Well, and so I know that that's another potential headache. So, there's two sides of this. So maybe you're trying to bring a driver in quickly and it's not going quickly enough, or you've told somebody you're going to bring them in and it's taking too long and, they decide to go somewhere else. But I think there's also the challenge. What do? You're recruiting all the time. Are you recruiting even if you don't have a current opening for that driver? And how do you handle those situations?
So I don't always have driver ads out. I am always recruiting by word of mouth, though. I find that the best drivers and the best employees I get are if I can encourage my employees to refer drivers to us.
Yeah.
So I don't do driver bonuses.
Okay.
I found that hiring bonuses, all it does is encourage job switching. What I do is I do referral bonuses, and I find that those are very effective.
Yeah.
So I do referral bonuses, and a lot of times once I find if I get a driver who works for me for a minimum of 90 days and they get into my benefits, then they're usually going to stay with me for over a year. So that's one thing. The other thing I don't do is I don't recruit within the fence. I don't ever try to go over to Josh's Linehaul business and try to recruit Josh's drivers.
Yeah.
I believe very strongly against that. Now, will drivers come to work for me from other contractors? Yes, but I require everybody who comes to work for me to give 2 weeks notice. And on top of that, a lot of times I will call that driver or that contractor, because I know most of the contractors in the hubs I work in, and say, hey, just want to make sure you're aware, Josh Gregory is looking to come work for Alpha Kilo.
Yeah.
You okay with this? And, is anything going on? Anything I should be aware of?
Yeah.
Or, hey, just giving you a heads up. He reached out to me. He says he's giving you 2 weeks notice. Has he given you the 2 weeks notice?
Yeah.
I don't mind drivers who leave me if they give me a 2 weeks notice. I have real issues if drivers leave and they don't give me a 2 weeks notice.
Yeah.
I think that's unprofessional, and it really hamstrings your business.
Yep. Yeah, because you have to immediately try to fill them.
Yeah, and you can't.
Yeah, you can't.
It takes a minimum. I would say the fastest I've ever onboarded a driver was 7 business days. So if you think about it, it's 2 weeks.
Yeah, with first advantage, right? So have you ever recruited somebody on before that there was actually a run to put them on, though?
Yeah, I mean, during peak.
Yeah.
Or as I'm prepping for peak, I will hire I will start to bulk up. A lot of times I know that FedEx is like, hey, we're going to have you start these temp runs on November 3rd. It's October 25th. I've started hiring drivers and bringing them on or onboarding them. I might turn to FedEx and say at this point, hey, I know I'm not doing this temp run until November 3rd. I have extra spare capacity if you need it. A lot of times FedEx will be like, oh, that's great. You could do this, or that.
Okay.
Sometimes I'm unhappy with a team or with a driver, and if I can hire somebody better,
replace them.
I'll replace them.
Yeah.
I mean, that happens. I mean, you'll be in a situation where, you're always trying to get no matter what you do, no matter how successful you are, you're always trying to replace the bottom 10%.
Yeah.
Either from a safety standpoint, availability standpoint, or just, whatever standpoint. Like I have a driver right now who still seems to think that he's employed by me, even though he's not showing up to work for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Now I terminated him a while back ago. He didn't show up. He gave me no notice and didn't show up to work for me for 2 weeks. He just sent me a text message saying, hey, I'm going into surgery tomorrow. Like, that's great.
Yeah. Thanks for telling me.
Yeah.
You should tell your current boss.
You no-showed for 2 straight weeks. We tried calling you and checking in on you for 2 straight weeks. You said nothing. And then all of a sudden in week 3 on Monday, you're like, hey, just letting you know I'm not going to be in the rest of the week. I'm sorry. 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So if I'm hearing you right, though, your general strategy is you always keep the door open for good talent.
Yeah.
You always keep from word of mouth from the right people to come in, and you find a place for them if that happens. But your job ads, you tend to use strategically when you're hoping to fill or replace certain roles.
Yeah, I definitely will not keep a sign open for solo drivers.
Yeah.
For teams, it's kind of like taking the pulse of your teams, and are you happy with your teams or you're not happy with your teams? So sometimes I'll just keep an ad open because I have teams coming through. I'm not confident that they're going to work out, and I'm unhappy with how they're working, and I just need to find something better.
Yeah.
Your unassigned teams generally don't last super long. They just get burnt out by being unassigned, or it's all a nuance. Some teams love being unassigned, some teams don't. I have a team that goes back and forth all the time. Like, I'm really getting tired of this 5,000-mile run. Can we go be unassigned? Okay, sure.
Yeah.
I'll move that. You know what? I don't really like being unassigned. Can we go back to being dedicated again? I mean, this team has been with me for 4 straight years.
Yeah.
They've done every single one of my runs at least for 6 months.
That's funny. But if they're good drivers,
they're
and
2 cousins that, I don't have any accident issues with them. They don't always answer the phones when I want them to answer the phones, but they're fine otherwise. I mean, they show up to work, they run hard, sometimes they'll be like asleep in the middle of the yard and be like, call dispatch up and say, hey, can you go knock on the door?
Yeah.
It's sitting right outside the dispatch window. What do you mean? Like, yes, I'll go, can you just do me a favor, walk out and knock on the door? Okay, fine. Walk on the door. And then they check in and get dispatched out,
Well, the quirks of every team, right?
Yeah. But
so at this point in time, you've got internal hires, recruiters. What would you say is your biggest recruiting challenge today?
It's just the consistency. I mean, I think that there's nuances. Like the one issue a while back ago, it's not an issue anymore because I've transitioned my fleet, but trying to find drivers who could drive 10 speeds. When I hadn't upgraded my fleet to all automatics yet, it was challenging trying to find 10-speed drivers.
Yeah.
And then then I had too many 10-speed drivers, and all they complained about being switched to automatics. And now all my 10-speed drivers don't ever want to drive a 10-speed anymore.
Yeah,
because they enjoy driving automatics. So it's like little nuances. I think the biggest thing is just if you're honest with your drivers and take care of them, you're going to have low turnover, but you're going to get turnover, and just be prepared for it.
Yeah.
Don't complain about it. It's just part of the business. I mean, no matter where you are, even here at Route Consultants, I'm sure that you guys have turnover.
Yeah, everybody does.
Somebody wants something, the grass always looks greener. As long as you set the standard and you abide by your own standard, then you can have expectations of them meeting your standard. And then I think at the end of the day, that sets the type of culture that you want within your company.
Yeah.
So if you require your drivers to give you 2 weeks notice, or like I just had a situation where I had to let go of a driver. They came on board with me for peak. I told them it was going to be a temporary business. They actually ran longer because I kept the temp run after peak up until last week. I said, hey, I just got notification from FedEx, your run is going away this week, but I'm going to keep you on for 2 weeks. I feel like, I'm trying to give you a notification so you can go out and find yourself work. And he was really appreciated. He's like, I've never had that happen to me before. No one's ever told me that, you're letting me go, but you're going to keep me around for 2 weeks until that happens.
Yeah.
Now, have I fired drivers for cause? Yes.
Yeah.
You will. No, don't be afraid of firing a driver for cause. It's so much more dangerous if you keep a bad driver around.
Yep.
Whether it's a safety violation, whether it's a contractual issue, whether it's negligence or whatever, you don't want to have somebody that's going to bring a negative spotlight on your company.
Yeah.
Okay.
And something we always say is frequency breeds severity. So even if it's small mistakes that they're making, that shows that there is a pattern there. And ultimately, one of those small mistakes are going to be larger.
Yeah. I mean, I had a driver who we caught using racist language on our Vetter camera.
Yeah.
So we let him go immediately. When he returned, we said, you violated company policy, you're no longer an employee. And he was all upset about it. Went to go work for another contractor. Lo and behold, he dropped some racist language in dispatch, and that contractor almost lost his contract over it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So recruiting is obviously, it has its pros and cons.
I think it's probably, there are some people who really enjoy it. It's not my favorite part of the business.
But it's not your favorite, but it's not like that's hindered your success.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's not. I have 47 employees. I want to grow to 50. I want to grow to 100. I would love to grow to, I want to be the next, I want to be 500 employees someday.
Yeah.
I want to grow. I want to get bigger. I want to build a company that lasts and has a culture that sets the standard. So recruiting is a necessary part of that. And it's learning what, I think in the grand scheme of thing of being a TSP is learning what are you good at, and then outsourcing or hiring to strengthen what you're bad at.
Yep.
So if you're not good at finance, hire a financial professional to work for you. Either outsource it. There's plenty of vendors who can do accounting or bookkeeping, or have somebody come into your company and do accounting and bookkeeping.
Yep.
If you're not good at maintenance, hire a maintenance manager. If you're not good at recruiting, hire a recruiting manager. Whatever you're not good at. If you're not good at everything, then we have a different story, and we should maybe you should, there's maybe something else we should talk about.
Yeah.
But you're going to be good at something,
Yeah.
whether it's organization, people skills, financial planning, strategic, orientation. There's going to be something that you're good at. Focus on that area, and then focus on your business and growing your business, and outsource the things that you either don't enjoy or you're not good at. Like I remember I tried to convince my wife to be my recruiting manager. My wife is deathly afraid of calling random people.
Oh, that's the same as my wife. That's so funny.
So I was like, okay, this is probably not a good idea. She is a great bookkeeper. She does an amazing job as payroll. So she is my CFO. She is really savvy. She worked as a CPA for a number of years. She understands, accounting and bookkeeping and payroll. She's really good at Excel. So she quit work, when she came into the company, and she's rehashed everything, and she's a real asset. But she's not a recruiter, and I'm not a recruiter. Even though I love to talk and I can go on forever, I'm not organized or not. I'm not focused on it. So I hired a great employee who does a wonderful job for me.
Yeah, and we talk about it all the time. Your time's too valuable to spend it on something that either you're not efficient at, or it's a drain on all of your energy for the day to be able to handle it.
Yeah, I tell a lot of contractors to think about it this way. Look at your time, okay? Your time is at a minimum worth $250 an hour.
Yeah.
Okay, at a minimum, you should value your time at $250 an hour. Okay, so if you can hire someone to do whatever you are doing, and you can do it for cheaper than $250 an hour, which allows you to work on your business and not in your business, then you're coming out ahead.
Yeah. And I think that's a great way to think about it from a financial perspective.
Yeah.
So thank you, Alex, for kind of running through everything when it comes to recruiting. We know that, this is a business where recruiting is always going to be essential to be successul.
And part of it is, one of the things that all contractors have to do is get comfortable. You don't have to become an expert with FADV or First Advantage, but you need to become comfortable with the process and understand where are the choke points, and then manage around the choke points.
Yeah.
So, and develop a process. I know that we didn't really get into this, but I have a set process. We send out different emails and we communicate at different points with our driver candidates as they progress through the process. So we're not losing track of them, and they're not thinking that we care about them. And so that they know that we're trying to get them to matriculate from a driver candidate into an alpha kilo employee.
Yeah. You just got to make sure you are doing everything to keep them engaged, so you don't lose them in the process.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, Alex, thank you so much for walking us through recruiting.
It was my pleasure.